Did not want to cover Marjorie. This woman makes me ill. But I guess I am covering her tweets and Twitter. She's got a must-read thread here from Matt Rosendell. Let's take a look at the must-read thread. Thread. There is no compromise on medical experimentation on children. Experimentation? What's he talking about? Some in our party did just that last night when they voted to support a bill that would force states to work with organizations that serve sexual and gender minorities. That's a euphemism for far-left social advocacy groups who provide puberty suppression drugs, cross-sex hormones, and gender reassignment to minors. Republicans could have stopped it, even though we're in the minority, because the bill was brought up under a process that would require 2/3 of voting in favor. But there are enough of us in the House to win that vote. Many supported it under the rationale that they'll do worse if we don't get on board. Thank you, Marjorie Taylor Greene and these other people who I don't know nor care about, and the 71 conservatives who stood up to children, except trans children. Fuck those guys, I guess. That's what that means. That's what that means. They only care about cis kids. Any type of attempting to figure out what is going on with trans kids, any type of therapy, any type of puberty blocking medication to buy them time to make a decision when they are an adult instead of having to go through a puberty that is not their own. None of that is okay to them because they don't actually care about children. No. They don't. Unless it's a cis child. Oh, but to them, every child is a cis child. All of them. All of them are cis children. Now, it gets worse. It gets worse. So, there is a act called the Violence Against Women Act. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has some information that she wants to tell us here. Okay? The Violence Against Women Act expired 2 years ago. Let's take a look at what's being said here.
Thank you. Violence Against Women's Act. This is something that should protect women. Unfortunately, the Violence Against Women Act has expanded its protection beyond women and girls into transgender or biological males who are calling them women.
So the fact that the Violence Against Women Act includes trans women upsets Marjorie Greene. It's just transphobia, guys. That's all it is. Fuck nuance at this point. Also, don't you like the America First dog whistle there? Isn't that great? Isn't that sweet? You know, it's... She doesn't care about trans women. She doesn't. She doesn't care about trans people. And I'm so glad that this person got to become representative for my district by default. There wasn't actually a democratic process in getting her in. It's that the Democrats didn't have anybody to throw in at the last second. But, you know, it's completely okay for this person to be representing me. Isn't that great?
You see, Democrats know this is a bad policy and agenda. In order to pass it, they have to hide behind real abused women.
According to this logic, trans women are not abused. Trans women are not real abused women. So, if somebody beats the... hold on. Content warning, transphobia. Okay? Just so you guys know. Now that I give that content warning, this is going to get very dark. Now, let's say you're a trans woman, and let's say you are having a wonderful time with a partner on your first date, and you guys think, hey, you know what? We're gonna go home. We're gonna have some sexy times. And then that partner beats the shit out of you. And in court, they say, oh, no, I panicked because I found out that she had a penis. Now, everything else about this person looked completely and totally feminine. Everything. They just, circumstantially, at that time, had not gotten bottom surgery yet. Or even if they did, you apparently thought that you could sniff out the transness in someone, so what have you. There's 1,000,001 ways people try to use the transpanic defense. So you find out that your partner was trans, and so you beat, the partner beats the shit out of you. Now, you are a trans woman who has been who has been abused. Violence has happened against you. This person believes that that didn't happen. This person believes that that's not a thing. Oh, I'm sure she could have some unique apologetic about it, arguing that no. I believe violence happened to a man, but that's not a man. They conveniently hide behind rhetoric like biological male, completely ignoring the fact that their social classification is in fact a woman. And violence has in fact happened to them. But Marjorie doesn't care about that. Why would she? Why would she? Why would a QAnon supporter care about truth?
Violence Against Women Act incentivizes fraud in housing by allowing people who have been evicted from government-funded housing because of criminal activity to claim after the fact they are domestic violence victims in order to keep their housing. The Violence Against Women's Act also...
So wait. The Violence Against Women Act is bad because if somebody is a domestic abuse survivor, they might be able to not be homeless. Am I reading that right, Marjorie? Am I misrepresenting what you just said there? Because that sounds like a good thing from my end of the aisle. If somebody's already being abused, they don't need to deal with being homeless as well. Now, you say that this increases the chance of fraud, the chance of somebody engaging in a fraudulent case, because if they're getting kicked out, they might just claim that their partner beat them in order to keep their housing. Now, I wonder, do you have anything to back that up? Any data, any statistics that say that since the Violence Against Women Act was enacted originally, the amount of reports of domestic abuse that were properly falsified increased? Really? Let's see. Are you going to provide that information to us? Because a statistic could help. If you can tell us via a statistic that there was, like a 20% increase in fraudulent reports, then maybe you'd have a leg to stand on. But what do you have to say?
allows prisoners to pick their...
Oh, nothing. You don't have a stat. You just go to the next one, you gish-galloping son of a bitch.
...gender and be treated and assigned by their specific preference. This isn't fair to women who are in prison.
So a trans woman who's in prison who wants to receive treatment based on being a woman, this is somehow not fair to women. This is because to Marjorie Taylor Greene, trans women are not women. This is why Marjorie Taylor Greene probably should not be in office. Because if you're going to argue that the minorities in your party don't exist, then maybe you should fuck off. But remember, when we covered the Blair White debate, we saw from Lauren exactly what people like Marjorie think of trans women. They just view them as freaks. That's all they do. Imagine. Also, David Thompson points out in the chat, wait, now they care about some prisoners' well-being? No, they don't. They're a convenient prop. That's all they are.
It should not be allowed for biological men to decide they're a woman and decide to tell people that they're a woman so they can be put in a women's prison.
All right. Let's see here. Let's take just a quick look. I'm just going to type in trans woman, okay? Put in trans female. Let's just go trans woman. You're gonna tell me that her or her or her that they should be in a men's prison? You're gonna tell me that's what you're gonna tell me. You're gonna tell me that they're not gonna get abused in that prison, that they would not fit better in a female prison, and if they do something horrible in that prison, then yeah, sure, at that point, maybe figure out something better to do. But as the default to you, these aren't women. Apparently. Marjorie Green makes me sick. She does. And no, I didn't want to grab Blair White this time. It's easy. A simple Google search just going, are these women to you? And you can't just say, oh, well, they all have penises. You don't know that. These are pictures on the internet. You have no idea with any one of those people. And in a proper society, neither would anybody in the fucking prison institution, because it's not their fucking business. It's okay, though. What else does she have to say?
The Violence Against Women's Act provides no exemptions for religious organizations when they hire employees.
You shouldn't have an exemption as a religious organization when you hire employees. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that right now. If you're going to be an organization that functions and tries to earn money, then there should not be a religious exemption that you can hold. Because what this sounds like, there's going to be somebody in my comments that says, wait, so you're telling me that if there's a Christian church and they're hiring, they have to hire a Muslim from off of the street? No. As an employer, you don't have to hire anybody. You have the ability. You've always had the ability to choose not to hire somebody if you don't want to. But you don't need a religious exemption to argue that you don't want to hire a Muslim person. You could merely just point out that no, that their religion necessitates the elimination of mine, or just go that our values do not coincide. They were not a good fit for the workplace. Workers' rights already are fucking shit in the United States anyway. It's not hard, especially not in an at-will state, to argue that somebody does not need to have employment at your place. Religious exemption that she's arguing for here is in the case of trans people, because this is all about trans people apparently, because that's her biggest number one enemy, because that's what Republicans think they can win the culture war on now. She's arguing that a religious institution that could hire a trans person who might even be of the proper religion, might even be the religion of the institution itself. If they have every qualification and they want to hire them, they can just choose not to. They already had that ability, but now they can go, well, we can't hire you because you're trans. That's the one they can do. But don't worry, Marjorie. We'll let you continue.
That destroys religious freedom.
No, it doesn't. Your religious freedom does not need to extend to an organization that has to hire employees. You're still able to practice your religion with or without an organization. If your religion basically requires capitalism to function, then maybe your religion's shit.
Democrats also refuse to support amendments to help women receive firearms safety training and self-defense courses to protect them against their abusers. Republicans have introduced amendments having to do with gun rights. If you want to help protect women, make sure women are gun owners and know how to use the gun properly in order to protect themselves.
So I got a question, Marjorie. Do we live in a world right now in the United States of America where a woman can go buy a gun from the store and then get a firearm safety course taught to her so that she can properly defend herself? Is that a thing she can do? Yes. Oh, by the way, Marjorie, do we also live in a world where there are other options for women to defend themselves? Such as tasers or mace. Now, granted, I would rather not argue in using those exclusively if you have the option to defend yourself with a gun, because mace, you can always miss. There's always a chance you will hit yourself. And a taser, if somebody's aiming a gun at you, the taser's probably not the best thing to use. So I understand that there is still need for the gun here, but do we not live in a world where a woman can go get that training right now anyway? Yes, we do. Of course Democrats aren't going to push for something like that. Because we already live in a world where you've already got that. This is like a Christian arguing that, no, they're so persecuted, they need all these extra rights, when they already fucking have them. They already have privileges. You have the ability to defend yourself. You already live in a world where that's possible. Marjorie's just upset that she wants more, and she's talking about something that's completely tangential to the violence against women argument, and not actually part of that particular legislation. Why? But I said we would let her finish. We're gonna try. We're gonna try.
That's the greatest defense for women. Democrats want to use abused women to take away guns from everyone. Unfortunately, gun rights groups know how to pay attention to Democrat bills that affect Americans' gun rights.
So, at least here, she is somewhat correct. There are a handful of Democrats who do, in fact, want to instigate things like buyback programs to try to get more and more guns out of the hands of American citizens. Yes, that is a thing. That still has nothing to do with the Violence Against Women's Act.
Democrats want to completely dismantle housing contracts and leases in order to justify their hypocritical believe all survivors agenda, except when it comes to Governor Cuomo.
Governor Cuomo. I'm afraid I don't actually know what this one is in reference to. What is this one in here? How Cuomo's team tried to tarnish one of his accusers. Governor Cuomo. Let's take a very quick look here and see. Okay, that's... What is the Governor Cuomo controversy? Let's take a look. So I actually don't know this one. Cuomo's team tried to tarnish one of his accusers. People tied to Governor Andrew Cuomo sought to damage the credibility of Lindsey Bolin, the first woman to accuse him of sexual harassment. Wait. Okay, so days after Lindsey Bolin became the first woman to accuse Andrew Cuomo of sexual harassment, a series of Twitter posts in December tied the governor started circulation an open letter that they hoped the former staff members would sign. The letter was a full-on attack on her credibility, suggesting that her accusation was premeditated and politically motivated. It disclosed personal complaints filed against her and attempted to link her to supporters of former President Donald J. Trump, weaponizing the claims of sexual assault for Okay, so there seems to be a mischaracterization here from Marjorie Greene. So, believe all victims is a default. This is a thing you do not as part of due process, but as a default socially. Believe victims because it is more likely that they are, in fact, victims. Now, if we're talking about stuff where Governor Cuomo is concerned, now we have moved the conversation from talking about victims, how they exist in the social circle, and we are now moving into legal language. When we move into legal language, now we have to go through due process. Marjorie is conflating the legal language, where you have to deal with due process, to the social language, where we believe all victims. You don't believe all victims immediately when we're talking about due process. You believe all victims in the beginning as your default stance. And then when due process is involved, that slate goes clean. Now you deal exclusively with evidence. Now, if you happen to find holes in a person's story when they claim that they are a victim, then by all means, from that point go, no, I have scrutinized your story. You don't seem to actually be the victim here. If that's what you need to do, go right ahead. That's fine. And yes, there are people who will use the believe all victim narrative in order to topple people that they don't like. But the fact of the matter is that when you have the believe all victims slogan dealing exclusively with social circles, and then you move on to stuff where a governor is concerned, we are moving into legal territory. And Marjorie Greene is not being honest about that. Because being honest about anything is not something she's good at, apparently.
Want to create a violence against women czar at the Department of Housing and
A violence against women czar? Really? Oh my gosh. What else have you been up to? What else have you been up to? Let's...
Development and urban development. Now that they've destroyed the family and housing law, they want to push a progressive gender ideology through housing policy. That doesn't fit.
Wait, how does it not fit? Are you just going to say it doesn't fit? Or are you going to give... Are you going to do what you did with the last stuff that required actual data and just not provide any of it? Is that a thing that you're not going to do?
Make no mistake. Democrats want to create an authoritarian woke state where neighbors, partners, citizens...
An authoritarian woke state? Have you been sucking off David Silverman? Is that what's been happening? Because this just sounds like his Twitter now. Yeah, this would be funny if it was a Saturday Night Live skit, but when it's reality, it's a little less than fun.
And employers are afraid to do anything in order to avoid the draconian policies imposed under the guise of protecting women. We already know of many high-profile men who abuse women. Why don't we look in the mirror and take a hard look at the real abusers? I think Governor Cuomo would be a good one to pay attention to. Rather than trying to criminalize every church in America for not following the advice of the Transgender Coalition
time has expired.
of Gender Dysphoria. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, if I have to have a choice between your church, which is a choice, it's a thing you choose to go to, having particular abilities that you want it to, or a world where minorities who don't get to choose themselves are comfortable. I'm going to go ahead and side with the minorities. Sorry, Marjorie. I'm going to have to. Which also means I'm going to have to vote against you in 2022 when the chance to get you out of office is there. Though the damage that you are trying to do is certainly noted. Now, I don't think I have to harp on over and over again that I do not like this person. I don't. Said this was this is whataboutism. Yes. This is a bunch of fallacies just kind of thrown into a blender and called a 3-minute presentation, and I'm not okay with it. So, look, I want to know what you guys think in the chat. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below, because my personal take is that this is not even thinly veiled transphobia. This is just somebody going, no, trans people don't exist. We want to strip them of their rights and fuck them. That's what it sounds like to me. She worships guns and hates trans people. That's what it sounds like to me. And I'm a guy who likes guns. So... But I think I care about the rights of trans people more than I do about guns. Personally. That's just me. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. As always, everyone, if you want to support my channel and what I do, please consider becoming a patron over on Patreon. And as always, insert into video tagline.